Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and very good days to my beloved students. In stage 5 of OD process is called Self-Renewal, Monitor and Stabilize. There are two learning objectives still we need to comply. So that the first learning objective is to generate and communicate information through feedback to participating members so that they can measure their progress. And the second learning objective for this lesson is to stabilize and monitor the change or desired behavior so that it will be continued. As the audit program stabilizes, the need for the practitioner should decrease. So they become less significant to the organizations because the change is getting stabilized, and there is a need to monitor the results throughout the time within 6 months or within a year, and then look at the stabilizations of the change where it becomes a new norms to the participating members in the change program and they get used to the new ways of doing things. And the fourth one is gradually disengage of the audit practitioner. If we have an external audit practitioner, in that process, we have to disengage them first and let the internal audit practitioner to continue monitor and gathering the feedback from the participating members. And while the time go on, the involvement of the internal audit practitioner also will get less and lesser, and finally they will resume and end the contract with the participating members in the organization. Boys and girls, once the action plan has been implemented, the last step is to assess the results and reinforce the required change. Self-renewal, monitoring and stabilizations are the fifth stage in the organizational development process. So this phase is about assessing the effectiveness of the change strategy to make sure it has achieved the stated goals. To determine the need to modify, continue or stop activities, system member have to know the results of the change effort. A few assessments needed to be done to ensure that the behavior is stable and internalized over time. Also, in this stage, the practitioner will gradually disengage from the organization as the planned change is coming to the end. In this stage, after the strategy is implemented by the company, the organization or the internal practitioner or external practitioner that involved in this program will start monitoring the results and make sure the change is stabilized and fit all the employees and customers. In the monitoring process, if there is any problem happen, and they will do the corrections and they will improve the solutions and to make it much more fit to the organization operation and organization's expectations. So they will check the effectiveness of the change in their business and whether the change is preferred by the customer or employees in the organization. Observations from the manager of the organizations are required to ensure that these changes should be continued or should be stopped. The managers will make an observation and they will recommend to the top management whether implemented decision or implemented solution is good enough to be continued, but it has to be stopped and they have to redo it again. They have to implement another solution which may give better outcome of that solution or of that action. So for example, if this change only leads to disadvantages, losses, or more complaints from customers, then the changes should be stopped so that losses do not continue to occur and tarnish the good name of the organization. So it is very important to collect the data, to observe constantly the change process within 6 months or within a year to make sure it can be a new way of doing things or a new practiced in the organization, it will become a new culture within the organization. So let's go to the activity and assessment for this lesson. First, as an internal audit practitioner, develop communication strategy to gain feedback from your clients on the results of the audit process. So it is similar to this process where when you want to gain the feedback from the participating members of the organization, you can use similar strategy and techniques that you use in the diagnostic process. So as for the assessment, you have to answer this question, which is how do you measure the organizational development process results? How do you measure the process results? Yeah? We look into what? The data. For example, you look at the output, you look at the disciplinary matters, the happiness index of the employees, take some measures, some mechanism on how to measure the results. And as for the learning objective 2, there is one activity that you have to do is, as an internal audit practitioner, develop a monitoring method of the audit process. And as for the assessment, the question is, how do you measure that the audit process is in a stable mode? How do you know that it reaching the stabilizations of the change process? With that, thank you very much for your kind attention. Hope to see you again in another module. Bye.